November 3, 2025. A cold, crisp night settled over Boon Township, Michigan. Quiet roads, streetlights flickering faintly, and the subtle hum of a small town enveloped the streets. A young woman, 22-year-old Rebecca Park, heavy with life growing inside her, was nearing the end of her pregnancy. Her due date was only days away. She was last seen at her mother's house, stepping into a dark sedan. Her family believed she was leaving for a routine errand, a short drive. But the night that followed would shatter every expectation of safety, every sense of trust, and leave a community gasping in disbelief. Hours passed. A missing person report was filed. Then days. Anxiety turned into panic. Family and friends shared photographs, called hospitals, pleaded for any news. In a situation where every moment mattered, time became an enemy. Rebecca wasn't simply missing, she was pregnant. Her baby was due any day. Every hour without word tightened a knot of dread in the hearts of those who loved her. On November 25th, after a painstaking 3-week search, investigators discovered human remains deep in the Manistee National Forest, roughly 200 miles northwest of Detroit. And the baby she carried was gone. Court filings later detailed horrifying allegations. On the night she vanished, Rebecca was allegedly lured by her biological mother, Cortney Bartholomew, and her stepfather, Bradley Bartholomew, into their home. From there, prosecutors allege, they forced her into a car, drove deep into the forest, and committed acts so brutal that evil fails to capture the depth of their cruelty. Rebecca was stabbed, forced to lie on the cold earth, and her baby was violently removed from her womb. The result, the deaths of both Rebecca and her unborn child. Authorities described her as a young woman with everything to live for, and an unborn child stolen before it could ever see the world. The charges filed against the mother and stepfather were extensive: first-degree murder, felony murder, torture, conspiracy to commit torture, assault on a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, conspiracy to commit that assault, unlawful imprisonment, and removal of a dead body. 6 counts carried potential life sentences. Bond was denied. Inside the packed courtroom in Cadillac, grief, disbelief, and rage hung heavy in the air. Friends, family, and members of the community gathered to confront a horror that no one could have imagined. Cars outside bore heartfelt messages: justice for Rebecca and baby Park. We are her voice. Questions lingered in every whispered conversation. Why would a mother betray her own child? How could someone commit such cruelty against both a mother and her unborn child? Prosecutors have not publicly disclosed motive, but the brutality speaks for itself, carving anguish into the hearts of anyone who learns the story. Yet amidst the pain, a community refused to look away. They remembered Rebecca not just as a victim, but as a daughter, a sister, a woman about to become a mother. She had dreams, plans, and hopes for the future. Perhaps a nursery already awaited her child, a crib painted, tiny clothes folded neatly. That future was stolen, leaving sorrow so heavy it could be felt in the silent corners of homes and streets, in the empty spaces where laughter should have been. In the forest where her remains were found, the wind carries questions no one can bear to answer. Did she fight? Was there a scream swallowed by the darkness? Did anyone hear the tires crunch on gravel? See a shadow pass under the moonlight? Authorities continue to work tirelessly, guided by public outrage and the unrelenting weight of the crime. Determined to bring justice, the road ahead is long. Prosecution will be intense. Witnesses will testify. Forensic evidence will be scrutinized. Autopsy reports, DNA samples, and potential motives will be examined, but the central truth remains unshaken: a life full of promise was extinguished, and a child never to breathe, never to see sunrise was taken before their first moment in the world. For loved ones, friends, and a grieving community, grief is a living thing. It echoes, demanding answers, demanding accountability, demanding justice. If nothing else is remembered from this story, remember her name, Rebecca Park, and her unborn child lost in the shadows. Yet their memory demands that the living answer for their absence. Sometimes cruelty wears the face of family. Sometimes horror hides behind doors we trust. Sometimes, in quiet forests and under pale moonlight, truth emerges from silence. Insisting not only on justice but on remembrance, we must remember, we must not look away. The memory of Rebecca and her unborn child calls to us, a reminder of the fragility of life, the darkness that can hide in familiar places, and the urgent, enduring need for justice. No headline, no article, no statistic can capture what was lost, but in remembering and honoring their names, we assert that their lives, brief though they were, mattered. Their story demands that the world acknowledge the depth of cruelty and yet affirm the resilience of justice. Justice may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. And sometimes, it takes the courage of a community, the tireless work of investigators, and the voices of the living to ensure that the dead are not forgotten. Rebecca Park and her child will live on not in the world they were denied, but in the hearts and memory of those who refuse to look away. Even in the darkest hours, even when the world moves on, the truth endures, and sometimes, remembrance itself becomes the first step toward justice.